1,000 years ago, a man named Xu Wenwu found a powerful weapon known as the Ten Rings, which granted him godlike power and immortality. He used this power solely to dominate. Xu personally charged into crowds of enemies and hurled them in all directions, showing no mercy or compassion. He named his army the Ten Rings and for centuries sent it to different corners of the earth to operate in secret. Over the ages, they changed the course of history and toppled governments. Finally, the year 1996 arrived. Xu began searching for a mysterious village called Ta Lo, home to mythical creatures. His expedition set off through an enchanted forest in search of the village. As they drove through it, the trees began to shift and close off the path both behind and ahead. After a sharp turn, their vehicle flew off a high cliff edge, but Xu managed to leap out in time. He continued through the forest on foot and emerged into a strange clearing where a girl stood, a guardian of the village named Ying Li. He asked her how to reach the village of Ta Lo. She replied that he was an unwelcome guest and that she did not wish to harm him. He then began attacking her using his magical rings. Ying Li revealed her beautiful face and, moving in a divine fighting style, gathered the energy of the wind. He attacked her again, but every attempt missed. They drew so close to each other that they began to fall in love. Finally, Xu launched his rings at her, and when he tried to recall them, she took control of them and struck him squarely in the chest. That was their meeting, one that would last forever. Years passed. They married and had children. Their eldest son was named Shang-Chi. Their mother explained to him that she had left her divine powers behind in the village and had become mortal. She also gave her son a special pendant. Now, in the present day, the grown-up Shang-Chi woke early one morning, did a few push-ups, dressed smartly, and headed off to work. It turned out he worked as an ordinary valet at a hotel. His wild friend Katie worked alongside him. She decided to take a client's car for a spin, but Shang-Chi was against it. Katie pointed out they had known each other for 10 years and nothing bad would happen. Her words proved false as the car tore through the city at high speed. That evening, sitting at a bar with some friends, Shang-Chi told the story of how he met Katie. She had saved him from a bully in school. Then a mutual friend delivered a lecture. It was time for them to grow up. After all, Katie had graduated with top marks from a prestigious university, and Shang-Chi could speak 4 languages, yet they were still parking cars. After the get-together, they faced a choice: responsibly go home or party until morning. They chose to spend the night at a karaoke bar. Later, they were riding the bus to work when a stranger approached them and demanded they hand over the pendant. The strangers grabbed Shang-Chi, but they had no idea who they were dealing with. With a single blow, he dropped the first attacker, then deflected the rest with rapid Jackie Chan-style strikes. A bearded man named Clev started live-streaming the fight in real time. Shang-Chi eventually took down all the thugs. They thought it was over, but at the back of the bus stood a huge man with a blade prosthetic instead of an arm. His name was Razor Fist. He attacked Shang-Chi and cut the bus's brake lines while it was hurtling down a hill at high speed. They noticed the driver had lost consciousness. Shang-Chi jumped into the driver's seat, but Razor Fist kept attacking him, making it impossible to steer properly. Katie then took the wheel. She yanked the bus into a sharp turn, nearly splitting it in two. Dodging the blow, Shang-Chi leapt outside and barely held on with his hands. While Katie maneuvered, Shang-Chi managed to climb on top, then worked his way along and grabbed onto a side window. Katie opened the door for him and he told her to wait for his signal to turn sharply, then went back to fight. Once all the passengers had scrambled into the front section, Shang-Chi gave the signal. Katie swerved hard. The rear section of the bus broke off and fell away, and they carried on. With the brakes destroyed, they had to stop by scraping against parked cars along the street. Finally, the bus came to a halt. Shang-Chi immediately noticed that his pendant had been stolen after all. He went home and began packing for a trip to Macau. Katie pressed him on who he really was and what was going on. He showed her a letter with an address in Macau and told her the people who attacked them had been sent by his father. A flashback began. After the death of their mother, his father put Shang-Chi through rigorous training. From dawn to dusk, he studied every conceivable method of combat while his little sister Xu Xialing copied his movements. He grew older, stronger, faster, and more dangerous. By the age of 14, he could barely remember life before his mother's death. At that point, his father sent him on his first mission. The flashback was abruptly cut off by a flight attendant asking what they would like for dinner. At last they arrived at the place shown on the postcard. Riding the elevator up, a guard told him he needed to sign in, and Shang-Chi did so. At the top, they were greeted by a local young man named John. He called Shang-Chi the bus monster because a video of the fight was circulating online. As they went inside, John explained that the club was called the Golden Daggers and that it broadcast real fights with high stakes and big payouts on the dark web. Even people with superpowers fought there, and Shang-Chi would face the champion in the main arena's final bout. At that moment on the arena floor, 2 fighters were battling. a huge beast called Abomination, and a Tibetan monk named Wang. Shang-Chi said he would not fight in the arena. John pointed out that he had already signed a contract and it was too late to back out, and besides, there would be only one fighter to face, so it would not be so bad. Stepping shirtless into the arena, John announced that Shang-Chi would be facing the local star and killer known as Xu Xialing, who turned out to be his little sister. She attacked Shang-Chi with a variety of techniques while he tried only to defend himself. During the fight, he told her this was not the time to settle scores and that his sister had every right to be angry with him. He added that he wanted to help her. Their father was looking for her. She replied, "You shouldn't have come back." Another flashback, Xialing as a little girl talking with her brother, begging him not to leave. He promised to return in 3 days. Then a sharp kick to the head and Shang-Chi fell, defeated, through the transparent floor. Later, in the office of the club, which belonged to her, he explained that in New York he was attacked by people from the 10 Rings who stole the pendant, and now they were coming for her. Xialing recounted how, after he left, she waited for him every day beside their mother's tomb. Days passed, then months, and finally 6 years went by. She realized then that she no longer needed her brother. Shang-Chi asked why she had sent him the postcard with the address. She answered that she had not sent it. Suddenly there were screams and an alarm sounded. His sister fled through a hidden exit while Shang-Chi watched as assassins from his father's organization arrived to take the pendant. He smashed a window, leapt onto some scaffolding, and told Katie they had to reach the elevator. There was no other way out. At that moment, on the floor above, the mercenaries broke through the glass. Shang-Chi shouted for Katie to go ahead and went to battle the armed men himself. He deftly dodged their blows and threw them one by one off the building. More and more attackers kept coming. Katie found herself next to one of the attackers. Dodging his weapon, she ended up hanging from a bamboo pole that was about to snap under her weight. At the last second, Shang-Chi grabbed her arm, but an electric shock struck his chest and he let go of Katie. Fortunately, Xialing caught her with a nimble move, then hurried to help her brother. Together they fought well as a true team, throwing enemies off the building. Unexpectedly, a bomb clung to the glass near them and exploded. A masked man called the Death Dealer appeared, crept up to the sister, and ripped the pendant from her neck. Shang-Chi gave chase through the long corridors of the building. When the masked man tried to jump to a helicopter, Shang-Chi managed to stop him. They fought a long and fierce battle, nearly matched. Finally, Shang-Chi knocked the Death Dealer to the ground and raised his fist for a killing blow, when someone hurled him aside with a powerful strike. It was his father. He told Shang-Chi that his men would never truly harm him and that it was time to come home. As they flew toward the secret compound, Shang-Chi and his sister once again saw familiar places from which he had departed so many years ago. Upon arrival, the father announced to everyone that his children had come home. At a family dinner, the father told them he had always known where his children were. He had given them 10 years of freedom, and now their place was at his side. He went on to say that after the children left home, he began gathering information about the secret village of Ta Lo. Behind great gates there, the captive spirit of their mother waited. It sounded unbelievable, but after her death he had sensed her spirit nearby, and it told him that her clanspeople were holding her prisoner because she had left the village with him. Shang-Chi insisted that his mother was gone and was sending no signals. His father then showed them both pendants, and led them to a strange wall carved with a dragon. He placed the pendants in the dragon's eyes, and suddenly water appeared from all sides and hung in the air. Then it fell to the floor and mapped out a clear path through the moving forest to the village of Ta Lo. At last the father had found the way. Xialing asked what would happen if the villagers refused to open the gates. The father answered that in that case he would burn the village to the ground. When Shang-Chi objected, the father threw him to the floor with lightning speed, and ordered them both locked in a dungeon. In captivity, Katie said that at first she had thought their father had lost his mind, but after seeing the water map she had started to believe him. Xialing pointed out, what if their father was right and the villagers really were holding their mother prisoner? Shang-Chi urged that they had to reach the village before their father. They then heard a voice and noise coming from a room deep in the dungeon. Inside they found a man of English appearance named Trevor. He told his story. He had been an actor playing a terrorist role and had been hired by a producer who turned out to be a real terrorist. He then went to prison for his role, from which their father had pulled him out. Now he performed shows for his men once a week. Suddenly a strange faceless creature with wings and 4 legs crawled out. Trevor said it was Morris, and how wonderful that they could see it. It was not a figment of his imagination. The Englishman could understand what Morris said. Their father had found the creature while searching for the path to the village. The odd monster said it could lead them through the maze of the enchanted forest, with a 9% chance of success. Suddenly the wall to one side crumbled and Xialing appeared, announcing she had found a tunnel leading to a garage through which they could escape. Inside the garage they stole one of the cars and somehow managed to drive out beyond the compound walls. Pulling up to the forest, they waited for directions from the strange creature, whose words Trevor relayed. Finally the creature said, "Forward," and they drove in. They watched as trees began to move in behind them, forcing them to speed up. Then the path narrowed, new roads appearing from nowhere and vanishing just as quickly. At last, they reached a final straight stretch. The way behind them was closing off with trees, but the road ahead was shutting too. At the last instant, they burst out of that cursed forest. The car then passed beneath a strange waterfall, and through a watery portal they drove into another world utterly unlike their own. At the end of the road appeared a village on the shore of a lake, with the local inhabitants already gathered to meet them. Stepping out of the car, Shang-Chi greeted them, gave his name and his sister's name, and added that they were the children of Ying Li. An elder shouted for them to leave, and the villagers immediately assumed a defensive stance. From deep in the crowd came a woman's voice. She stepped forward and said she was their aunt. Her name was Nan, and she embraced Shang-Chi tightly, then embraced Xialing. Their aunt brought them to the lake to tell them the story. She said, "Our people have lived here for more than 4,000 years, preparing for something we would do better never to face. We are the guardians of the Dark Gate. We must protect both our world and yours from the dark forces that are imprisoned." Shang-Chi explained that their father wished to open the gate because his deceased wife had told him to. The aunt continued the history of their world. Long ago they lived in peace until they were attacked by a creature of darkness. It brought hordes of monsters that devoured the souls of people, growing stronger. The best warriors were sent to stop them but proved powerless, until a great protector arrived and turned the tide of battle. The beings of darkness were sealed on the other side, behind the dark gate. Since then the villagers have guarded the entrance with weapons and armor forged from dragon scales. Many had sought to open the dark gate, just as their father did, and they all shared one thing in common. They had all heard the voices of long-dead loved ones. The monsters knew that the power of the rings could be used against them. The aunt then took them to a place where their mother was commemorated. There she gave them items that had been kept for many years, meant for them specifically. Come morning, an alarm rang out. Their father and his forces had reached the village. Standing before the villagers, alongside whom stood his son and daughter, he asked whether they thought they could stop him from freeing his wife. The aunt told him it was a monster calling him. He chose to believe the monster interpretation and ordered the attack. A fierce battle began. With shifting fortunes, both sides displayed their skill with weapons, each trying not to die in the fight. Meanwhile the father went to his wife's memorial site, and Shang-Chi followed. There the father said that Shang-Chi was to blame for his mother's death, and attacked. The man struck so hard that Shang-Chi was hurled into the lake and vanished beneath the surface. Suddenly the father heard his wife's voice. He flew quickly to the dark gate, approached it, and began striking it with his rings. Through the cracks that opened in the gate, hideous creatures began to pour through, grabbing people and draining their souls. They could only be killed with divine weapons. More and more of these horrors spilled out through the damaged gate, and former enemies became new allies in order to repel the assault. Everyone was ready to give their life to save both worlds. Deep in the lake, Shang-Chi regained consciousness. He saw something large and familiar rising from the depths. It was the ancient flying dragon, guardian of this world. Shang-Chi climbed onto the dragon's back and began helping to fight the flying horrors. His aunt cried out for him to stop his father, who was still shattering the gate. Leaping down from the dragon, he knocked his father aside and told him that their mother was not there. His father attacked Shang-Chi again, who now fought drawing on a divine power like his mother's. At last Shang-Chi managed to take control of 5 of the rings, wielding them as his mother had taught him. His father grew even more furious and attacked again. Firing all his rings at his son, he watched as they passed under Shang-Chi's control. Concentrating his energy and spinning the rings, Shang-Chi abruptly stopped and cast them to the ground. At that moment the enormous and terrible dweller in darkness broke through the gate. It immediately seized the father and began draining his soul. Without hesitation the father transferred the rings to his son and was consumed forever in the great monster's maw. Suddenly the flying dragon appeared and attacked the monster, biting it by the neck and hurling it away from Shang-Chi. Gathering its strength, the dweller flew at the dragon and began siphoning its soul. Katie saw this and understood she had to shoot the monster in the throat. In that very instant Katie's arrow flew into the monster's throat. Shang-Chi rushed to fight the creature while it was still reeling. He fired all the rings straight into the dweller's maw, then concentrating his full power, tore the monster apart into tiny pieces.